Well, good afternoon and welcome to Tiger Bay. Unfortunately, our president, Octavia, could not be here today, so you're going to have to settle for me, Matt Bauer. I'm the VP of Tiger Bay. So welcome and thank you very much for joining us today. Just a quick note, if you wouldn't mind making sure that you put your cell phones on silent, I'd appreciate that. At this time, I'd like to call up Cadet Major Parks to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for joining us today. Today's topic is on affordable and attainable housing. But before we get there, I'd like to recognize a few folks that decided to join us today, a few dignitaries with us. Supervisor of Elections, Mike Bennett. Commissioner Misty Servia. Commissioner Betsy Benak. And City Councilman Bill Sanders. As tradition, whenever I take, did I miss anybody, please? So I'm sorry, Gene Brown, good to see you, my fault. Only 2 minutes in, I already screwed up, all right. Tradition, when I'm at the podium, I also like to recognize our veterans, service members, and reservists. So if you wouldn't mind, please stand up. Today's topic is pretty important. As you can see how much this room is filled. Because numbers is pretty much my life, I happened to take a look at the Alice report yesterday. As you might have read in the paper, 44% of Manatee residents have issues with cost of living issues. And so I started taking a different look at the numbers. I'm always talking about present value and future value and all that stuff from my clients. So I looked back from 2010 to 2016. On average, Manatee residents who fall below that line increased by 1.33%. So if you look at the numbers and we continue that average, by 2025, which is not too far away, we'll have over 70,000 people in residents in Manatee County that are falling below that line. So that's why we're here to talk about this issue today, because to every need there must be a solution, and fortunately we have a few folks that are working on that and can always do more. So I'll get started with our first speaker, Adele Roser. She is Executive Director for Turning Points. Ms. Roser started her career with Health Services, working for Planned Parenthood in Walla Walla, Washington, as a community educator, and then as Executive Director for 5 years. She planned to take a 6-month round-the-world trip, but instead ended up living outside the U.S. for 17 years, returning in 2002 when her husband retired from the United Nations. They settled in Bradenton, like many do. And in 2004, she became Executive Director for the Community Coalition on Homelessness, now doing business as Turning Points. The organization provides services to individuals and families struggling with issues related to homelessness. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Adele.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today He stole some of my thunder because I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Alice Report. Turning Points is an organization that is working, one of the things I want to shoot down immediately is the myth that we work with just the homeless people, because that's exactly why we changed our name in 2012, was we serve people who are that Alice population. Those people, that 44% of people in households in this county that are at risk of homelessness, as well as those at poverty level that might actually be homeless. So in that population, there's so many different niche populations that we serve. And one of those I want to bring some credence to are those people who are elderly, which is what we're starting to see a lot more of. Those people who are living on fixed incomes and don't have any kind of rent, kind of stabilized housing that they can get into. This is what we're seeing more and more of. And we're going to be probably seeing more of that because as the Great Recession took a lot of people's savings away, it also cut into the reserves that they have for emergencies. And what we're finding is that a lot of these people just can't afford the increases in rent in our area. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. Those problems that we see every day are those people who are in a job, working very hard, but they're unable to afford the housing. And as an example of that, I'd just like you to know we have a grant from the city of Bradenton that we're having a very difficult time handing out. We have $10,000 to help people who are at risk of becoming evicted. And in order to be eligible for that, the criteria is you can't have more than, at the beginning it was you couldn't have more than 30% of your rent going towards housing. So just imagine that how many of them here maybe have 30% or more of your income going towards housing. So that we finally were able to negotiate that it was at 50% of housing. And in the last month we've been employing that criteria, and even at that criteria, we cannot find people who are eligible. Because most households that are earning that basic wage or even up to $10 an hour are spending far more than 50% on housing. So it's a really bad problem in our community, and what we're trying to do is work with landlords to be able to reduce some of that and subsidize in ways that we are able to get people in there on a permanent solution. So the question today was, what kinds of things are you doing? Well, of course, our services are all sort of geared towards preventing homelessness or helping those who are already homeless in the community. We're providing those day resource services. We have the rent and utilities assistance. We have the medical assistance and dental program, which again, a lot of the people who come to us, they've had a medical or dental problem, and that's what's caused them to become homeless. They could not pay the bills. They lost their house, they lost their car, and many times they lose their family. So there's just so many, homelessness is such a complex and complex issue that we really can't have an answer for everything. But one of the things we work on is making sure that we try to get people into housing with emergency programs as well as permanent stable housing. The question today was, what could we do? What should we do? I'm just giving you my personal opinion. I've been to meetings of the Chamber Attainable Housing Task Force, the County Housing Authority, or the County Sustainable Housing, Affordable Housing, and the city's affordable housing. And I think that what I see is there's a lot of resources in this community that people could be using, but they're all kind of out there doing their own thing. My solution that I would like to see is that we as a community have one organization that has one person or one entity that is responsible for housing in the community, and all of those resources are coordinated through that one entity, whether it's public or private, and hopefully it would be a public-private cooperative effort. So just as an example, in 2008, when the recession hit, we had so many people calling us saying, you know, I know a house over here, it's empty, you could probably get it for pennies on the dollar, why don't you pick that up, and that would be somewhere that you could have somebody permanently housed. Great idea. I don't have pennies on the dollar. And I also don't have a program that is a housing program that would have property management or other things that we could do to wrap around services, because some of those people need more than just a house. So my solution, and something I would like to see promoted here, is that we have people come together and have funding for one organization in our county that's looking at a trust fund, that's looking at all the different things we can do to enhance our ability to provide those housing options in one place, so we aren't having separate organizations doing the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Our next speaker, one of the most active members that I've seen in the community in quite a while, Glenn Chipolina. Glenn was born in Chicago, Illinois, and resided in Manatee County and Sarasota for over 40 years. He's been a member of Habitat for Humanity since 1970, building over 50 homes during that time. In 1992, he spent time building with Jimmy and Rosalind Carter in South Dakota on the very first Native American reservation in the country. Glenn is a retired Florida general contractor doing business as Evergreen Construction. He worked to build modular homes during Hurricane Andrew, Charlie, and Katrina. He built modular SIPS homes for Homefront Homes in Inglewood, Florida. He brought remote area medical to Manatee County after volunteering at several RAM events in the U.S. that resulted over $3 million of free health care in Manatee County over the last 4 years. Currently, Glenn is instructing Bayshore High School students to build affordable housing out of shipping containers. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn.
Hello, my name is Glenn Chipolina, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I am the voice of Alice. Alice is asset limited, income constrained, but employed. I speak for the citizens that are unable to make it here today. They're probably working 2 jobs, don't have the discretionary $35 to come and be heard. I am speaking for that group. The Alice report, I would suggest everybody go online, and it's free. This is 2019. In 2017, we had, let me see my notes here. 2017, we had 41%. 41% of the households were under the Alice. 2 years later, we're at 43. Folks, we're going in the wrong direction. Affordable housing is not going to be attainable anymore. So, you look at, who do you think the Alice people are? They're just a car repair or a hospital visit away from homelessness. When 2017, 4 out of 10 people you meet on the street were living check to check. It's even higher than that today. So who can't afford? Here's the problem is that the average house is, back in, was about $300,000. And who can afford that? We have all these walled communities that want their students being taught by school teachers. They want the service industry to come in there. They want first responders, firemen, and sheriff's officer to protect them, but they can't afford to live there. So at the end of the day, all these great people that provide these services in the walled community have to drive out of that community, clog up our roads, and go try to find an affordable place. There are no affordable housing. We are about 50,000 units short in Manatee County. And quite frankly, Sarasota is not much better. So who's helping them? We have Turning Points, we have Habitat, we got Denise, we got some great organizations. That's just a drop in the bucket. We need, this did not happen overnight. I've been in this town 40 years. You have to have a vision. And you need visionaries. We have lacked the last 40 years that I've lived here, the vision from our developers and elected officials to address this problem head on. I look at the tax bill and I look at it and I say, There's a tax for everything but affordable housing and health care. The school's got 3 taxes in here. I would, part of the solution would to institute a housing tax, affordable housing tax. The developers aren't stepping up to the plate. Our zoning don't assist us. So I think that's a viable solution, either a $100 or $500 tax, especially on your building permit. And I think that belongs. You know, here's the paper. First of all, $300,000 is the average median time. Went up 5 times in 2018. Here's a developer that's discounting their houses $50,000. So you think that extra 100 or 500 on the building permit is going to make a rat's ass difference to them? It's not. They're going to pass it on to the consumer. They're going to have it built in. If they can discount houses $50,000, they can afford an affordable housing fund. You know, and by the way, 80% of those houses are built by illegals. That's a true fact. So think about that next time you're buying a house. And what are we doing? I'm into incremental development. You know, I'm a one guy at a time. I think with the passage of the accessory dwelling unit, that currently we're building them at Bayshore High, hopefully the commission will approve it in June. That is a step forward in the right direction. So that's my spin on it. It's a problem that's been here a long time. Drastic times calls for drastic measures. And I think everybody needs to step up to the plate. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Our next speaker, Valerie Guillory, as founder of Trinity Without Borders, a Florida nonprofit 501c3, Valerie has come full circle from a life of child prostitution to addiction and through homelessness. She knows the way out. Her belief that home ownership unconditionally solves homelessness and is the founding purpose of the first Trinity program initiated being homeless to homeowner in 2006. Trinity has gone from serving the homeless out of cars and vans to operating a tent city and on to operating hundreds of transitional living units under the direction of Valerie. Presently, pursuing a Florida general contractor's license and a degree in building and construction management at State College of Florida, Valerie has led Trinity Without Borders onto a path of affordable housing development in Manatee County. Ladies and gentlemen, Valerie Guillory.
Hello. So I know some of you are thinking, oh God, how soon before she starts crying? Because that's what happens whenever I get in front of people. But I wrote everything down this time and I have to stick to it. So first, thank you to Xtavia. I hope you're watching, Xtavia. We love you and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Tiger Bay members, for allowing us to have this forum today. Just a little bit over what Matt said. Trinity was created out of a van 16 years ago. New in recovery, I tried to bring in other human trafficking victims and addicts. I kept engaging with the homeless, folks who needed medical services, and a place to bathe. After taking them home to my trailer for a couple of years, my landlord encouraged me to get him a tax deduction in exchange for trailers that had been flooded in Hurricane Charlie, so my people could rehab them and live in them, and that's what I did. Hush, the name of my program now, Homeownership Unconditionally Solves Homelessness. So today, 16 years later, a 501c3, having served thousands of participants, operated several facilities, we are at a total standstill in progressing over 2,000 participants into homeownership. We inherently serve a demographic of the disabled, the extremely low income, people in recovery, parents in reunification with their children, and homeless veterans, as my husband, who's president of Trinity, is a 100% service-connected disabled vet. We find our people are constantly subjected to the whim and circumstance of property owners. Therefore, they are always in jeopardy of rent increases that can and do render them homeless again. We have found ourselves in the true lane of the unmet need, home ownership. We have acquired our first property in Palmetto. Our goal is to provide homes for under $100,000. Our participants range from 520 to 680 in their credit scores. We have had a product created, 3 products created. A concrete product that is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $93,000. A shipping container that's 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $62,000, and a modular home built to code at $63,000. All of these being under $93,000. With some creative financing, and we do have lenders interested in our demographic, as well as down payment assistance from programs funded by the Fed and the state that are administered through Manatee County. We hope to provide homeownership opportunities to the low and extremely low income, carrying mortgages they can actually afford at approximately $400 to $600 per month. Well, you say, how in the world can you have a mortgage $400 to $600 per month? Once they've obtained the down payment assistance that the county offers, which ranges from $10,000 to $35,000, it's a possibility that they're only financing $50,000 to $60,000. And when we've calculated those mortgage payments out, they literally come average down to about $500 a month. And none of our people, even who are staying in hotel rooms that have been converted into apartments, are paying even that. They're paying over $700 a month just for their rooms. I would like to say, with Manatee County being so amenable to the affordable housing deficit that we're experiencing by providing land, impact fees, considerations, and most of all, encouragement in capital letters. The county is really amazing at how they have laid out the red carpet to small organizations, grassroots organizations like myself, to guide us and help us in any way they can to just put one. They're like, just get one done, and then there's more opportunity waiting for you. It's really unbelievable, considering the other areas in Florida that I've operated the nonprofit. You know, the whole county administration building, from the commissioners, Commissioner Benak and Commissioner Betsy, all the way up to the 7th floor, you know, and into the offices of Ms. Thomas. They're all like cheerleaders for affordable housing, and they bend over backwards to do everything they can to see it come in. So I think that is pretty much where I am. I would like to say, if anyone has any suggestions, I'm looking for all the help I can get. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valerie. Our next speaker, Diana Shoemaker. As Executive Director of Manatee Habitat for Humanity, Diana has worked for Manatee Habitat for the last 10 years. Prior to Habitat, Diana served as the first director for Family Promise of Manatee County, a nonprofit providing shelter and resources to homeless families. Diana recently serves as the chair for the Manatee County Affordable Housing Task Force and is a graduate of Manatee Chamber's Leadership Manatee. Maybe a red? What color are we? No? Green? All right, we won't hold that against her. And the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance Executive Academy. Diana has a Master's of Social Work from the Columbia University and has over 20 years experience in the community and educational programs and services. Ladies and gentlemen, Diana Shoemaker.
Glad to be here with you today. Families all across the United States are paying too high a price to cover the cost of home. Rent and homeownership costs are skyrocketing, while wages are not keeping pace. The stability that home should bring remains out of reach for far too many families. At Habitat for Humanity, we know that a family should never have to spend more than 30% of their income on housing. But today, nearly 19 million U.S. households pay half or more of their income on a place to live. That means 1 in 6 families are denied the personal and economic stability that safe, decent, and affordable housing provides. Instead, 1 in 6 families are forced to make impossible choices: a safe home, health care, food on the table, which would you choose? When the cost of home jeopardizes your family's future, the cost is too high. Now, you may not be personally struggling with these choices, but we know others are. Maybe it's not your family member or your neighbor, but I have no doubt there are individuals in your life who are making these choices. It might be the kindergarten teacher who lovingly takes care of your child or your grandchild. It could be the county worker who repairs your streets or your bank teller. Our community thrives not because of our beautiful beaches and pristine parks. It thrives as a result of the contribution that each one of us makes to its success. This housing challenge threatens our community's economic stability and well-being. When we don't provide housing for individuals and families of all economic levels, we create an imbalance that erodes the strength of our community. We should be very concerned when 36% of our 41,000 renting households are paying more than 30 and possibly 50% of their income for housing. Now, we've had these conversations with coworkers and family members, with friends and business owners who are all concerned with the lack of housing in a price range that doesn't burden them financially. If they haven't already, our residents will leave to find more reasonable housing. We have a problem when the list of individuals calling Habitat to seek housing tops 400. For 25 years, Manatee Habitat has provided families across access to secure housing that does not require them sacrificing other important needs of their family. But Habitat is not a giveaway program. We partner with working families to help them build and purchase a home from Habitat, providing them a low-interest loan. We understand both the pride that homeownership creates for a family and recognize the value that homeownership brings to the larger community. The right housing for all residents creates increased and sustainable economic well-being for our entire community. Making a real impact on this issue requires that we stop delegating the solutions to someone else. It requires shifting our focus from policies and programs that benefit few and give the same or greater attention to those that encourage economic stability for all. Manatee County's Livable Manatee is one of the programs that can help move the needle on affordable housing in our community. It's an incentive program that assists affordable home builders with impact fees, and one that we want to encourage the county to continue to fund so that we can bring more builders to the table and keep the momentum going. This program will save Habitat $200,000 on the construction of our upcoming 16-home community in Samoset. And for a small builder like that, for us, this is monumental, and it will mean more money that we can pour back into building homes. The lack of affordable housing wasn't created by one entity in our community, and it won't be solved by any one solution. It's going to require partnerships among builders and municipalities, businesses, and residents of our community, willing to give up some of what has been to create more of what needs to be. And we need to be diligent in understanding the decisions that are being made in Tallahassee, which directly impact our local housing effort. When Housing Trust Fund gets swept, as it has historically been, we lose funds that were designated to come to our community to do nothing else but fund housing programs. Manatee Habitat has a model that's been successful since 1994, providing homeownership to 132 families, and has kept almost 100 existing homeowners safe and secure through our critical home repair programs. We recognize that we are only one spoke in a wheel that will move this community forward as we continue to address our affordable housing challenge. As Habitat begins its 25th year, we'll continue to do our part to bring strength and stability and self-reliance through shelter to help create a community in which all of us can thrive. Thank you.
Well, last but not least, Denise Thomas. Denise is the Housing and Community Development Manager for Manatee County's Redevelopment and Economic Opportunity Department. That's quite the signature block, by the way. Her work experience encompasses over 22 years with Manatee County and over 16 years of mortgage lending and housing development services. In her tenure with Manatee County, she serves as the administrator for Manatee County's State Housing Initiative Partnership Program, Federal Community Development Block Program, Federal Home Investment Partnership Program, and Manatee County's Livable Manatee Incentive Program. Her primary function is to ensure the expenditure of over $3.2 million of federal and state allocation to promote and encourage community development and housing initiatives, to assess the needs and barriers within our low-income communities, and to incentivize developers to create affordable and attainable housing for our workforce within Manatee County. She truly believes that the vital fabric of a strong community is a decent and safe housing and economic opportunity for all. Ladies and gentlemen, Denise Thomas.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Denise Thomas, and I am the Housing Community Development Manager for Redevelopment and Economic Opportunity. I tell many that my job is not a job, it is a purpose. It impacts many lives, and it brings opportunity to many individuals and citizens of Manatee County. You have heard from my partners here talking about affordable housing. As you see, the spectrum of affordable housing covers a large area, from homeless to our millennials to our seniors. Everyone is impacted in one way or another about affordable housing. Just as you may have someone in your home that has graduated from school, has gone to college, and still in your home, and you want them out. Affordable housing comes into play. Just a thought. And even when they move out, they may come back. So today, this afternoon, I don't want to talk about what is affordable housing, but who is affordable housing. When you think about an individual that has a heart attack and calls 911, the first person that's going to be there is a paramedic, and their starting salary is $42,316. When you want to research and expand your knowledge by going to the library, well, that librarian one starting salary is $40,747. And when you have that neighbor that is creating code violations and you call code enforcement, that code enforcement officer's salary, starting salary, is $32,281. And when you want to build that home, that dream home that you're looking forward to all your life, that building trades worker starting salary is $27,102. And then when you send that grandchild or that child, that daughter or son to school, to elementary school, that elementary school teacher starting salary is $54,430. And when you have someone breaking in your home and you need law enforcement to come out, well, that law enforcement officer's starting salary is $51,777. And when you have that nagging toothache and you need to go to the dentist, well, that dental assistant starting salary is $34,001. And that person who comes and help you to buy that suit or that dress in the retail market, well, that retail sales associate starting salary is $21,725. That's who is affordable housing. And when we look at the average median income for Manatee County, it is at $70,300. So most of those individuals, if they're a four-person household, will fall into our low-income category based on state income and salaries, which is $56,250. So that means that person at that income level may be able to afford $1,400 a month, but many of us say, no, they couldn't. They would struggle even at $1,100. So who is affordable housing? When we look at the cost of housing, based off of the Sarasota Manatee Realtors Association, single-family housing, the average median sales price in 2017 was $295,000. 2018, it went up to $300,500. For a condo, In 2017, it was 180,000. In 2018, 190,000. And rent levels in 2017 was 1,179. In 2018, it's now 1,200. So you see from year to year, it's increasing, which create a greater divide for opportunity and to realize affordable housing. So how do we address this? There's a saying that goes, it takes a village to raise a child. I say it takes partnerships to address affordable housing. One entity alone cannot do it. It takes us all working together, and especially the resources that we need. As Diana mentioned regarding the housing trust fund that is through the state, for many individuals who purchase homes, even our middle income, moderate income, they seek down payment assistance. Well, guess where those funds come from? The state. When we need to incentivize developers to bring on affordable housing, through the wisdom and knowledge of our commissioners, we were able to create a livable Manatee that will pay 100% of the impact fees on any affordable housing that is developed. We're trying to make homeownership possible. We're also incentivizing developers to come and build rental housing, affordable rental housing within Manatee County. On an average, to bring on rental housing, it takes about $30 million. Well, I don't have $30 million. So they have to go through other resources, through competitive rounds to bring those dollars in and leverage with our dollars to make it happen. But the employer has a role. Individuals have a role. And we all have to work together to help address this issue, because it's not going to go away. It's just going to increase. So next time you hear about affordable housing, don't ask what is affordable housing, ask who is affordable housing. Because I guarantee you, the affordable housing that we're creating in Manatee County, you wouldn't even know that it isn't affordable housing. It could be 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with a 2-car garage, but it's still affordable. Because we have certain controls on sales price to cap it so we can make it affordable for the end beneficiary. So today I ask, don't ask what, but ask who, but also ask how you can help affordable housing. Thank you.
Okay, this is where we get into a little bit of our fun part, as tradition was Tiger by the Bay. So if you are a board member and would like to ask a question, we're going to try to stick to our rules here. So come up to ask your question. You'll have 30 seconds to ask your question. And if you happen to get a tap on your shoulder, that's just because one of our board members, Michael Gallen or Cassandra Burns, are acting as my bouncer today. So I'm going to start off the questions to our panel, which kind of dovetails off of Diana's remarks as well. Jim Bruin, one of our board members, sent in this question: how do you define affordable housing, and where in the county is there the greatest need? So. Okay.
For Manatee County, the driver of affordable housing, we cap sales prices, and we say if it is for a moderate income household, which is 120% of the area median income, the maximum sales price is $176,000. If it is a low income, which is 80% of the area median income, it is $160,000. And if it's for a very low household, at 50% of the area median income, it is $144,000. Where do we need it? Everywhere.
I'll speak about Habitat. 4 years ago, we were building houses, 3-bedroom, 2 baths, 1,100 square feet. In Ellington, 110,000, and those weren't subsidized or anything. Those were low-interest loans that we gave to families. Right now, where we are now building in Bradenton and Palmetto, the houses we're selling for about $160,000, $55,000, $65,000. So you can tell the cost of housing is going up, even in the affordable range. We are, because of that, as an entity that's trying to address affordable housing efficiently in an affordable way for ourselves as an organization, we're starting to look at smaller units. We're starting to look at 2 bedrooms, even 1 bedroom efficiency type units, so that we can address the smaller families who are also needing affordable. So it's the affordability issue isn't just affecting the individuals that live in it, it's affecting the people who want to build the homes as well. And so it's changing the way we're building, and you think you'll see some smaller units in the future as well from us.
Are there any panel members want to address that? Okay. All right, Cassandra, our first member.
No, I'm just mediating.
Okay.
All right, great.
Step on up.
Hi, Karen Grablin. I am a Tiger Bay member. I heard a lot of good ideas today, and also, obviously, the status of our situation. But I didn't hear a question answered, and that is where. If we assume we come up with a plan that can actually help solve this problem, make a dent, where are we going to put these affordable housing units?
Glenn?
And available to even do that?
Well, there's, as Denise will tell you, that there's some surplus property the county has, but more importantly, I think there's a real niche in these accessory dwelling units. You know, if you get a school teacher that's coming from college and has been living in a dorm, you can easily live in a 20-foot shipping container at 160 square feet, fully functional. This not only increases the rental market, but this can go in any backyard in the community that will be designated by the county. So I think it's a big plus. We can lower the price of the accessory dwelling unit. It will offset the mortgage for that homeowner. Everybody wins. I'm a big proponent of small lots or homeowners that want to make a difference, that, you know, school teachers should be able to walk to work, and we should be able to live where we work. And accessory dwelling units is going to play a major factor, I believe, in the affordable housing industry.
I'm getting my Fitbit steps in. I appreciate that. You asked about where for affordable housing. I can tell you with Livable Manatee, we have some developers that are buying infill lots throughout Manatee County and building on those. One of the things you have to consider with affordable housing is the individual who ends up living there may not have a car or may need transportation close by. And sometimes the farther out you go, it becomes more difficult. From the economic side, businesses are saying a lot of their employees are living in other cities and commuting in, and they're losing individuals because of the distance. So if it could be close to their job, that's great. But we do look at urban, we love rural, but we just need the housing here. And available sites is a challenge, because you do have to go throughout, and infill sites have work because you can go throughout and find vacant sites. But so far on that Livable Manatee homeownership, we have had over 25 sites designated, and we have closed 17 with home buyers living in them. Thank you.
I would just say that being on my end, you know, actually trying to locate where do we put our people and how do we fit homes in. So a few weeks ago, I sat in on a commission meeting with the Manatee commissioners, a planning meeting, and so they are very fond of increasing density. So like when you have a piece of land that you can put one home on, they are changing the code, the land development code, to where, you know, depending on the size, you can actually put, you can double that density. So like with our lot that we have, it's only 1/3 of an acre, but because of the changes in the code, we may be able to actually fit 3 small lots on it. And, you know, with the approval of the community and the input of the community as well. And then like several of our homeowner candidates who are in line for those, they have like their mother who they might be living with now, and so they're hoping to take advantage of what Glenn was talking about, the ADUs, the accessory dwelling units. So like with one small lot, you can, house one family in a main home and then also house mom in the mother-in-law cottage or the student coming out of, so there's different things that the county is doing to try to fully utilize the lots that are being used for affordable housing.
Land is an issue, there's no doubt about it, especially for incremental developers or developers, small developers like ourselves. And so we have had to look at the infill lots that everybody's talking about and all the challenges of that, but committed to doing that. Because we are small, we can do it. I think some of the challenges with land is that there is land, you'll see parcels of land available. I have not had conversations with all of the developers on all of those pieces of property or owners of those properties. But I think really having the conversations and having the community will to encourage those landowners to consider the possibility of partnering with builders like ourselves and other smaller builders. I know that's a hard thing to do, but if we can use those pieces of property for that purpose, I think we can address these issues as opposed to moving out to really far out in the east in places where, like you said, the families can't get to the jobs and things. So incremental development and small pieces of property is really kind of going to be the answer for us, I think, in the short term for the land.
Okay. Valerie.
I'm Valerie Vale. I am a Tiger Bay board member. My question is for Valerie. You talked about the down payment assistance programs that are available. Are those grants or loans? Is the person that takes advantage, do they have to pay it back if they sell the home, those types of things? How does that work?
So we right now have several of our candidates in the certification process. They are going through these classes with the two organizations that provide it, and I've actually gone through one myself. So I would defer if you could speak with Denise on this, because I don't want to say anything that's not correct, and she's my guide in just about everything. She knows all the correct answers. So thank you, Valerie.
The down payment assistance is administered through the SHIP program. The requirements of it is that they do attend a home buyer education so they can be educated buyers. And I also twice a year certified lenders who can participate in the program. And the reason I certify them is because they're going to be the point of contact, and we want to make sure the individuals have a smooth transition into homeownership. I can also threaten them because I used to be a regional underwriter. So that helps them to realize the thought process that they have to go through with lender approval. But the lender is the one who submits the package to us, and we in turn provide the down payment assistance through my office. Okay? Oh, sorry, I was so excited. The funds are offered as a 0% interest deferred loan. As long as they reside in the property, do not sell, lease, vacate the property, it is not due and payable. Upon sale or lease or default, they have to repay it. And those funds go back into the trust fund to help another family.
Next question.
Yes, Nancy Sanders. I am a member of Tiger Bay. But to preface my question, in 2004, I founded the Student Leadership Academy in Venice. And what we did, which gets to my question, we repurposed a long vacant nursing home into a school on the island of Venice. And as I look around in Bradenton today, I see a lot of vacant buildings. And I'm wondering if there is any organization or any person that is looking to try to repurpose any of these buildings. I think of DeSoto Square Mall. I think of the recently listed surplus building that the county has on the corner downtown, and I look at our county commissioners here. Is there any reason that someone cannot be encouraged to renovate these buildings, repurpose these buildings, and perhaps provide some incentive to some organization or individual to do so, other than the containers? I am a huge supporter, by the way, of the container renovations. I know a lot of communities have used those quite effectively. Thank you.
on the refurbishing of say, a center, a retail center area, it would take someone to be willing to acquire it and convert it, and that takes dollars. So sometimes that can be a challenge out there. And our issue is trying to have resources to be able to go and acquire vacant sites or vacant land that we can make into affordable housing. That's why I said partnerships are very crucial, because we do need that in order to be able to realize home ownership. What was the other half? Okay. Did I answer? What was the other half of that question? What's that? Oh, the county building. I can speak to that. The First Union building. One of the things you have to consider, it's easy to say and go out and acquire, but you have to look at the condition of the building. And my knowledge of the building, it has asbestos. It has issues with it. So and then you got to look at parking. Is parking available for it? So sometimes it's better to tear it down and rebuild than try to fix it. And a lot of these aged buildings, you need to look at the conditions of them. They may look like a good site, but we don't want to put individuals in the areas that have health issues. And if the building is sick, we don't need to put them in it. Okay, thank you.
Denise, you're more than welcome to sit down if you like. All right, next question.
Hi, my name's Eli George. I'm with ABC7. I was just curious if services like Airbnb are they contributing significantly to some of the housing shortage in terms of rental properties or homes that are being used for them as opposed to being rented out to families?
I just would like to say, so I did a recent survey when we were doing a grant, and there's over 5,000 homes that are not being used in Manatee County. They are like vacation rental, short-term rental, and, you know, just very, very high rent that, I mean, it's like over 5,500 homes are just flat out not being used. And we're at the same time, we have like a need of almost 16,000 units. So I think that a lot of them are going towards short-term rentals, but I know there's at least 5,500 of them that are off the market, like either unattainable or rented out for short-term.
Anybody else? Okay. That's a great question. All right, Tracy.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Tracy Pratt, and through the Manatee County Democratic Party, I am a member. And my question is in relation to the Sadowski Trust. We know that money is moved from the sale of property here in the state into a trust that has been designated for affordable housing. Yet year after year after year, this money is raided by the legislature for other projects. Can you please talk a bit about how you think, if this money were to come into our communities regarding affordable housing, how this could positively impact our communities?
The State House Initiative Partnership Program is an allocation appropriation through our Florida legislation. Currently, the governor has fully supported funding of the Sadowski Fund, as well as the Senate. The House has chosen to take a different position, where they want to cut the funding and only provide a little funding to the Panhandle, which means the other areas would get zero. What this does is impact Manatee County. In 2017, I received $1.4 million from the state. Now keep in mind, I've been with Manatee County for 20-some years, and the allocation was up to $2.3 million. Last year, we got $500,000, okay? If we were fully funded this year, Manatee County would receive over $3 million. The one thing about this particular funding stream, you can be creative with it. You can address many areas and get very creative. It doesn't have a lot of restrictions, but you can be more creative with it. Currently, this is a call to action that's going out, that you do reach out to Senate President Bill Gavano. The appropriation chair is Senator Rob Bradley. The House Speaker is Jose Oliva. And the appropriation chair is Travis Cummings, Representative Travis Cummings. Those are the individuals that are going to negotiate to determine what they can recommend to the governor. If we do not get any funds this year, down payment assistance go away. Being able to help individuals to get into homes go away. Being able to provide funds to help bring on affordable rental housing goes away. The only resource we have in Manatee County has been through the SHIP funds. So it's either take a position and try to get something from Manatee County because it goes a long way, or be silent and we won't get it. Thank you.
Okay, last question of the day.
Well, thank you. I didn't come with a prepared question, but I'm Bob McKay. I'm a volunteer at Turning Points. I'm a new resident in the community, and forgive me if I maybe misunderstood exactly what the topic was today. But this morning I was registering voters at Turning Points, and they're very happy to find ex-felons in particular that they can register to vote. But I mentioned that I was coming to this luncheon, and what would they ask, for what would they ask me to, what question would they ask me to present? And many of these people are, the idea of owning a home is just an impossible dream. One young man, for example, who is obviously mentally sharp, but has had some bad things in his life, is hoping to get a job at one of the local motels. But the problem is he has no housing, and he's hoping that the motel might even give him a room so that he could stay and be on the property 24 hours. So my question has to do with, what would you say to address the homeless issue for these people who owning a home is just an impossible idea? What they really need is just a place to live as they get a job and sort of move up the ladder, hopefully. Thank you.
Well, the issue is affordable housing, but it's also types of housing, and I think what you're talking about is transitional housing. A lot of the transitional housing programs that we had have been defunded. The federal government did not fund any of these programs anymore, HUD. So it's difficult to find the kinds of housing that some of these people might need on a short-term basis to be able to get them to transition into the longer-term permanent housing. So that's obviously a need, and again, that's something that we would look to for partners to be able to develop this kind of housing. There are people who are interested in this. Again, my pitch is to just have one central place where all of the resources can be collated so that we all know what's available, and if somebody has something available, they would contact that person. And again, I've been contacted even by churches that have had some acreage in their area. They're wanting to know what can they do for affordable housing, and they have acreage enough to be able to maybe build some lots there with densities so that they could have rental units on their property. We just need somebody to coordinate all of those things to be able to handle all those resources. But as transitional housing goes, usually it's just for people who are in a program that have either addiction issues or some kind of issue, but other than that, there's very little available right now.
Okay, so I lied, John Colon. One more last question of the day.
I wasn't going to bother. I'm John Colon. I'm a Tiger Bay board member. In addition to that, I'm a commissioner for the Sarasota Housing Authority. I just wanted to know if any of your organizations have currently applied for tax credits to be utilized for housing. Sarasota Housing Authority has gotten numerous tax credit grants and in the position right now of building quite a bit of affordable housing, as some of you have seen. And I know home ownership is your goal, but my goal is to house people who don't have housing and get them off the streets.
Thank you. We have, in the last 2 years, had 2 developers come forward to compete for tax credit funding, and we won. So we have 2 developments that are going to be tax credit coming forward, and they serve, thank you, households at 60% and below. But they're beautiful projects, and if you're familiar with Manatee County, if you knew Tuscany Lakes over by Ellington Outlet, that's a tax credit project. You probably didn't even know it because it's beautiful. So we are encouraging that. We have been challenged in the past, but I think we have our hands on it now, and developers have come forward. And in fact, we got about 5 rental developments we're working with. Some of them don't need tax credit, but we're looking for them to come forward and be built, hopefully in the next few years. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start wrapping this up. Board Member Joseph is going to come tell us who has the Tiger by the Tail Award.
Tiger by the Tail goes to Eli George for his question on Airbnb and short-term rentals and their effect on housing in the area.
All right. All right, well, again, thank you very much for having us today. Just a few loose ends. If you're a Tiger Bay board member, if you please stand and be recognized, and thank you for all your hard work. Thank you very much. But a nice round of applause for our speakers today as well. Thank you. Our next luncheon will be held on the 3rd Thursday of May, which is May 16th. We'll be doing our 2019 legislative review. Currently, we have Tom Gregory, Mr. Newton, and Representative Robinson will be here at that lunch. If you know someone who has a topic that you would like us to discuss, please send us in your thoughts. I'll be happy to look at adding that to our agenda later here in the year. Thank you again to Charles and METV, and we look forward to seeing everybody at our next luncheon. Have a great day.